Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So what we saw yesterday in my last video with Laurel Hubbard's historic failure at the weightlifting, not being able to complete one lift, being eliminated from the competition in a matter of minutes, well, that was an absolute travesty to competition. But it's come to my attention that someone in my last video left a comment that said Laurel isn't actually the first trans athlete to be competing at these Tokyo 2020 games. So I looked into it and there's actually a number of trans athletes that are competing at Tokyo in 2020. So that was surprising for me. So we're going to take a look at who is actually also LGBTQ representation at this Tokyo Olympics. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share this one out and let's take a look. So this is from my video yesterday, Laurel Hubbard's historic Olympic failure. Now, I said, because I'd been reading all the headlines, Laurel Hubbard was the first trans athlete to be competing at these games, but it appears not so. Actually, there is also another male to female trans athlete that actually transitioned back in 2012 and is competing in the archery. Stephanie Barrett, apparently according to some of their tweets from 2012, had surgery in 2012 and it was on hormone replacement therapy. So full transition. They've been competing as a female for a while now. Let's take a look at how she went in her archery. She actually competed before Hubbard. So Barrett actually came 46th. Not that great, with a 630 score. In the individual, lost to the Turkish archer. So, okay, lost there. Now let's take a look at the other representation we've got going on in the Olympics in Tokyo right now. On NBC News, we have Quinn, who plays for Canada in the women's soccer. Quinn actually is competing for a gold medal with Canada's women's football team against Sweden. Quinn came out on their Instagram to announce that they are actually non-binary. The difference with Quinn and Hubbard is that Quinn was born female and is competing with other females in women's football, and they announced that they're non-binary. So that is completely different. It's still biological female competing with females. That's fine. So Quinn from Canada will also be the first non-binary athlete to win an Olympic medal because they're competing for gold, but if they lose, they'll still get silver. First trans non-binary representation to be winning an Olympic medal, but it's in a team sport competing against females. So now we also have Chelsea Wolfe, who's a BMX rider, only qualified to be as an extra. So if anyone gets injured, she will compete. Then we have Alana Smith, who is competing in skateboarding, says they, them. Now on the Olympic website, this is on the Tokyo 2020 Olympic website. Yeah. 15th in the third heat with a 1.25 score, 20th in the fourth heat with the same 1.25 score. So not doing terribly well, these trans athletes. Now these trans athletes are competing in solo tournaments, because you've got Hubbard, who's competing in weightlifting, solo tournament. You've got Stephanie Barrett, who's competing in a solo tournament, archery. And then you've got Alana Smith competing in a solo skateboarding. So what we're seeing is trans athletes in solo events underperforming to Olympic standards or professional athletic standards. Why do you think this is? Now, the fact that these trans athletes competing in solo competitions performing poorly, shall we say at best, shows that either their countries don't have world-class athletes in those fields and that these trans athletes are actually legitimately the best athletes that these countries are sending, or these national Olympic teams and coaches are choosing subpar athletes so they can say they have representation or trans or LGBTQ representation to the detriment of not only the competition and the Olympic Games, the spirit of competition, but also to these nations who these athletes are representing. That's another slap in the face, not only to female athletes who want to compete as females, and you're taking away a spot from them, but if you're sending subpar athletes just because they're trans, that's not okay. But if you are legitimately sending your best, and they happen to be these trans athletes, good on them. But I don't believe that these are the best athletes you can find to send to the Olympics. Because when we see them compete in team sports, what do we find? They're going to the gold medal match. But when we have solo athletes competing poorly, subpar for Olympic standards, you gotta ask why they're being sent. Why are they the ones competing? Are they the best for the competition? You would hope so. Or are they just there to be representation for the sake of representation, which I hope they are not. So what have we seen? We've seen two trans athletes, two non-binary athletes competing. 3 of those have performed poorly, and one of those is in a team sport who is going to the Olympic final to compete for a gold medal. People are asking, what's the solution now? we can have a male competition, a female competition, and then we can have maybe 2 trans competitions as well, where we have an M2F and an F2M. And I mean, I'm open to that idea, sure. If there are enough athletes that can fill those spots for a competition, sure. Mixed competitions are not new. Like, we've seen tennis for years now, but what is new is that this Olympics, there is a mixed relay in the swimming. Now, mixed 4x100 relay in the swimming. Now, I was watching that, and what happened in that swimming race? Well, you can start with the male athletes or the female athletes, and you can switch around whoever finishes and starts. Now, what I saw was Israel actually started with the female athlete. All the rest were male athletes, so the female athlete fell way behind in the first 100. And then what happened was when the Israeli man who was doing the butterfly leg, he started his leg when the rest of the field of women was down the other end. What happened when he finished his leg? He had almost caught up that 100 meters on those women. Now, that's what happens when you have biological males against biological females, when you have a mixed competition. The male competition will most likely dominate in that field. But when you have these trans athletes coming in that are underperforming in solo events, you got to ask, are these legitimately the best athletes you can be sending, which I hope they are? Or is it that these Olympic committees from the national and the international Olympic committees are sending athletes just for the sake of representation? And that would be an insult to athletic competition and the countries that you are supposed to be representing.
What's more, it's bloody insulting. It's bloody insulting.
So don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, share this video out, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.